Yeah.
Good. Right, I'm going to try and make sense of what you just seen. Thank you for inviting me. And okay, right. So that was I was basically invited by Arts Admin, a production company, what's it called? So lucky. I was one of the artists that was asked to make a film about work on one with disability. And when I was first asked, I didn't really have a clue. Because I'm not a historian, I'm an artist. My connection to World War is that my father was in the army, and so therefore I sort of brought up in a sort of very regimental style, which I used to argue with him all the time about. So, going back to the film, I was one of the army ward. So, keep it back. So that is a bit further away, a bit more. So, like I said, my work is subversive and often about re-representation of disability in unfamiliar contexts that will not be found within the mainstream. In Time Out, one of my most recent work within a party being visited, I was described as a performance artist who likes to savage disability cliches. I like that description. I would like to say my work isn't only about disability. It's also about breaking down and fragmenting the expected form or genre artistically. Part of my annoyance is the longevity of representation within documentaries or triumph over adversity films displaying disabled people as freaks, medical problems, heroes, or any mix of above. This has been one of the catalysts which stimulates my work. And of course, being disabled and living an absorbing life from what I consider a unique perspective, for me gives me an edge and authority of the work that I make. I use humour in my work to subvert it. Humour often isn't used, and when faced with disability, humour often isn't used, and when faced with disability, often people don't know how to react, whether to laugh or be sad, overemphasise, be sympathetic. All these emotions are great responses to play with and incorporate in the work to express normative views that society has of difference.
Underneath. This one. There's a couple down there.
A
couple of straw.
Yeah. Yes,
So as I was saying, often opposites, people don't know how to respond to disability, and I find those sort of lack of responses or awkward responses or at the moments things to work. Those are ways that I like to play around with in my work. So, as I started to research World War I, the key to it and its relationship with disability, the overwhelming depiction was sad that I could see was sadness and tragedy. There was no shortage of images of victims of war patients lined up in their wheelchairs and in their hospital beds with brave-face syndrome, convalescing and segregated from society. So for me, it was important to respect the realities of World War I. But as an artist, I needed to turn around and subvert the sense of loss, despair, and tragedy. To do this, I needed to reconfigure the conventions, genres, and expected form of the work from that era. This included using speech captions with language that was appropriate for the time and done in the style of the silent film. For me, there was something important about me directing the gaze through portraying, for example, a character without legs shot at a slightly unconventional angle to disrupt the regular reading of that person by making it obvious that they do have legs, and what is being signified is staged. This in turn disrupts the immediate and dominant representation which a viewer might probably take away with them, and requires the viewer to emphasise or associate with a character who is only, quote, depicting disability, thus altering emotion and playing with emotional responses to what is made visible. It is also about taking it a step further. For example, the head on the bed is ridiculous. It's just a head. It's patted and patronised, yet it is also a living miracle, an impossibility, and deliberately foiled in its realness. The walls around display the worst atrocities of human sacrifice, from the head on the bed to the post-traumatic stress disordered chicken, is a humorous display of the hideous realities of war and its effects. I think it also adds confusion, but it's playful that the portrayal of matron is myself, someone who does have a disability, and the two doting nurses are glued to my side. The portrayal of the two nurses is also compromising the gaze, which instead of being fixed and focused on patients, is firmly fixed on the disabled matron. For me, this is about changing past and present social taboos around disability in unfamiliar and unexpected ways. The nurses are the mechanism by which one is invited to refuse viewing the matron through sympathetic eyes, but rather a woman of authority and control. The special effects team who rush in and rupture the scene are now a device that speeds the viewer into acknowledging the contrived, directed and staged nature of what they are witnessing. The ketchup-wielding duo burst in to fix up the patients, but in the round frozen scene, we are taken back to the aggression of the front line with the blood and gore in abundance. To summarise, the challenge for me was to make a 3-minute film that would somehow negate the atrocities of World War I, but simultaneously expose them in a way that was subversively awkward. It was important for me to steer away from a reading that would be heavy in emotion, but rather a light-hearted look at something that is very serious. Furthermore, as in all my work, I refuse to incorporate or to engage with the medical model of disability that continues to dominate representations of disability in our society. Oh, what a lovely, lovely world. The matron charging around in her powered wheelchair sets a hierarchical presence, making it difficult to respond to her in a cliched manner as brave or disabled. She exists as a matron, surrounded by the sick, in quote, injured and tragic specimens of war. Thank you.